Well folks, it is a cold frosty morning in Ireland and I'm going to get stuck back into this Mazda MX-5 here. Where we left off is I got the engine running in this car and got it moving under its own power to a certain degree, but it's now driving. I've done a bit off camera. I've taken things like the brake pedal, or the clutch pedal out and changed the brake pedal. I've topped up all the fluids and gone over everything, and it does drive, but there are a few teething problems and a few things we need to address. This Beetle's leaking oil and hasn't even got a Jesus engine in it. One thing that does need to be addressed is the engine has a bit of a misfire. Now, I reckon it's probably a coil pack, and what I'm going to do is pick up a replacement coil pack, just a second-hand one, just to see if it actually does rule it out. I know there are modified coil packs available for these cars. Obviously, the reason for that is because they are a bit of an Achilles heel on it. I'm just making an assumption there. But either way, what we can do is there's a few other things we can work through as well. And basically, I just want to check everything over. First things first, like I want to go around, do all of the, check all the light bulbs, make sure that they're all working. I need to lubricate the door locks because the key is, it's quite thin at the end because of the way that it's cut. And it's prone to breaking. I already broke off one key in a lock in this car and I don't want it to happen again, so I need to make sure that the locks are well greased and everything like that on it. So we'll do that, and then there'll be things like lubricating hinges and all that kind of carry on as well. So we're going to just work through it and basically make sure that this car is as reliable as we can get it, and then we can kind of look at things like the gearbox is slushy as hell as well. It does shift gears, but it just can't seem to make up its mind what gear it needs to be in. So maybe there might be an issue with a vacuum line or something like that. So again, another thing we need to address. So let's just start working our way through it. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the door card on the driver's side. I've already done the passenger side, where I lubricated the locks, the window mechanism and the wing mirror. But I want to do the same thing on the driver's side now. So basically it's a very simple setup. All you have to do is just remove, there's a screw in here, which you take out. Straighten the footwell. There's two screws on the bottom of the armrest, and there's one behind the plastic cover there, and then the rest of it's all basically clipped on. I have to say, this car is actually, by and large, a very nice car to work on. They don't overcomplicate stuff. And like even little things like, for example, the door locking mechanism, in order to take the handle off, they give you an access hole to get at the bolt. Where I can tell you now, Volkswagen would not do that. And Renault, Jesus, forget about it. You would not be doing the door handle on a Renault, I would say. Not without cutting your hands off. Okay, there's the armrest off. So now we're just going to go around and gently pull the poppers out. And it kind of hooks onto the top of the door. The speaker grill is the same effort. You don't have to take, oops, you don't have to take the speaker out, you just have to take the I don't think that speaker's going to sound very nice, mind. I will be replacing that at some stage. The foam is all gone around it. Okay, right, so there's that off. And there's a half-hearted attempt at the polythene here, but we're going to be taking this off anyway because I need to get to the window mechanism. The windows are very slow to go up and down, and the grease inside the sliders is all crap. Now, I know I'm going to have to get in here again in the future, so let's just take this all off for the moment, and what I'll do is I'll replace it then further down the line. Alright, so all I'm going to do with the locking mechanism is I'm going to actually give it a dose of oil, not grease, oil, because the oil is actually going to get in around the mechanism an awful lot better and just free it all up. And then what you can do is you can coat the exposed sliding parts of it with grease then afterwards. But the oil is going to free up the mechanism in the first instance. Now, I'm not talking about WD-40. In actual fact, the stuff I have is 10 weight fork oil in my oil can. So like as in fork oil, as in the stuff that you put in the front forks of a motorbike. So let's get those screws back in there first of all. I'll stick a new speaker on my parts list. Bits I need to pick up for this car at one stage or another. The one on the passenger side is fine actually. Although I'll probably just replace the pair of them. Now let's see if I can get a screw there for that. So there we go. So there's the screw in there now. Just to make sure it's not impeding on anything in behind. There's loads of room there anyway. Right, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get some grease onto those window tracks. Actually, you need to give them a clean first of all. They're fairly... There's a lot of sticky crap on them. So I'm going to give them a good clean and then we'll put fresh grease on them. Okay, so I just gave the window tracks a bit of a clean with just a cloth and a bit of solvent on it as well. Now I'm just putting a bit of grease, just normal lithium grease, on the actual sliding mechanisms. And what we'll do then is we'll operate the windows a few times. When it's all the way down, I'll actually just put a little bit of oil down the tracks as well, the grease and oil mix, and make it a little bit thinner, but you don't use too much oil. And I find it works very well for these type of applications. So let's get the key in the ignition. See what I mean? The windows are not happy. Alright. So now, get her a little bit of oil down there. And that'll just run down the inside of the track in the places we can't necessarily reach. Okay. Oh, the other thing as well I need to do now, I just remembered, is I have to do the cable as well. So there's a cable that runs down the side of the forward of the two tracks in here. We need to get that greased up as well. So just slather a bit of grease on that. Alright. So now, that should ensure that our window stays working properly. It's still a bit slow, but that's because the grease and oil and everything like that has to work its way in where it needs to be. Right, let's see how it works with the engine running. Perfect. Right, I'm going to leave the engine off because I'll poison myself with that. So, right, now next thing to do is to get the oil onto the locking mechanism. So, there's various holes and ports and stuff like that where we can get our oil can. You don't be too afraid to just oil it up. And what we might do is just pop out the door handle as well, because what I want to do is actually lubricate the key, the lock barrel. And already it's feeling a lot better that now. Okay, right, now let's get the door handle off. That won't take me too long. Famous last words. Okay, so there are two nuts holding the door handle on. Just one is accessible through this hole. This is the hole I was talking about actually, that I can tell you now Volkswagen would not have bothered putting in. So we can take that nut out there, and that'll allow us to just pull our door handle out a little bit. You don't need to take it out all the way, it's just basically to get at the back of it to lubricate the mechanism on it. So let's do that. Alright, just pop it out here. So there's a spring, and you see this is where the oil comes in, and that spring, or that oil is going to get right down in behind that spring, down into the actual spindle that you're trying to get at. So now there we go. Operate the handle a few times now. Just pop it in there. See, I can tell you now that's feeling an awful lot better. Just pump a little bit of oil into the lock barrel there. And that will allow it, that'll work its way in through there. That's feeling good now. Alright, that's feeling good now. I'm not going to go any further on this side. On the other side I actually did take the whole locking mechanism out of the car door, because it was fairly seized up, and I was afraid of breaking the key in the lock. But in this side it's actually really not a major concern of mine, and I honestly don't want to have to do that again, because that was a pain in the face trying to put it all back together. What I would suggest you do, folks, take photos as you do it. So let's see now. There we go. Right, that's the door handle back on. I had to try and get see where it was, but that's all moving very freely there now. Right, so now I want to lubricate the wing mirror on this door as well, but what we can do is get the door card put back on here first of all, and then we can do that. Oh, lovely. That feels really good now. Okay. Just go around and get our poppers into position first of all. Alright, so there we go. There is the door reassembled, and everything is moving beautifully. That handle was actually a little bit slow to return, so now, and the mechanism is just perfect. Oh dear, I forgot to put that back on. The speaker's shot anyway, it doesn't really make a difference, does it? So I've gotten a lot of things done even off camera today. I got the wiper arms painted, new wiper blades, I got all the bulbs replaced, needed to be replaced, interior light is sorted, all the locking mechanisms and everything like that done, as I said, and yeah, a few little other bits and pieces. So I'm really starting to get through that list of kind of small jobs. Basically the intention is to get this into a really well running car that's well put together and everything like that. And then we can worry about the bodywork at a later stage. It's going to need a respray, I know that much, but to be honest with you, at this point in time, we could get away with just painting the passenger door and just getting that front wing aligned and stuff like that. Probably get the passenger door and front wing painted as together, and then maybe in the future we might even think about a colour change, because I think that a nice candy apple red metallic would look fantastic on this car, and the later MX-5s do actually come with that. So anyway, right, next thing to do is to get those wing mirrors off and freed up, because they're all seized up and creaky, and I'm afraid of them just coming off my hand when I try and adjust them. They're screwed on from the outside, so it's just two Phillips screws here. You know, these are probably JIS screws in actual fact. Japanese industry standard. They're like Phillips but not the same. Okay, so here we have the back of the wing mirror. The reason I've taken it off is because when we peel back the little rubber piece there, you can see in there is a little nut, and what we're going to do is we're just going to pop some oil down there, and that'll work its way into where it needs to be, and get and free up that mirror. So let's see. Let the oil work its way around, which it's doing, and we can pop that back on now. Alright, there you go. So now let's see how that moves. Ah, that's lovely. Perfect. You don't want it to be too loose because then it'll just move when you're driving. You need to find a way of sticking that, I think, because it's because the mounting for the mirror is broken. That's just flapping in the breeze. Anyway, look, I'm going to do the other side there. We wipe all the oil off everything, and that should do it. Well, I've hoovered out the interior, and I gave it a bit of a coat of wax as well there, just to see how it comes up. Now, I'm far away from actually detailing it as such, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of a spruce up after kind of getting oily fingerprints all over the place and that. And I think it's looking pretty smart, if I do say so myself. Even little details like painting the wiper arms makes such a difference. Now, I do still need to do the wheels and everything as well, but there's a shine to that paint. There's still a bit of life left in it, so don't need to do anything with it just yet, which is great. As I said, the wheels are letting the side down. I have 3 of the 4 center caps. If you guys have a center cap for an MX-5 Daisy wheel knocking around that you would be willing to part with, please drop me a message below, because I'm short of one. I have 2 Unis ones, 1 Mazda one, and to be honest with you, I'd settle for either on the back there, but yeah. So let's get out for a drive in it, shall we? Ooh, beating. Alright, so we go for a drive anyway to see how it performs. Oop. Now straight away, it does have a misfire, but there's a few ideas I have up my sleeve as to what we can maybe do to investigate that don't involve going too drastic. One of them is the earth on the engine, actually, because I know that the bonding lead is pretty nasty looking. So if it's not earthing properly, then it's not going to work properly. But anyway, we'll get it out on the road and see how it performs. I'll turn off the blower fan so you can actually hear the engine a bit. Like it's running on 3 cylinders there now. It's pulling along all right, but I mean, I'm not flooring it now by any stretch of the imagination. It's I'm just kind of letting it warm up a bit. But I mean, as far as the road holding and that is concerned, I think what I need to do is get it to a specialist who can set up the camber adjustment as well as the tracking and all that kind of thing, and get all that done properly, because it's okay. I mean, it's all right, but it's a little bit wayward, and it just doesn't feel as planted as I feel like this car should. Brakes are 100%, they're perfect. But yeah, we need to get into that, get stuck into the engine and find out what the story is of the misfire. And as I said, just a good shakedown, I think, is what's needed. But I mean, don't get me wrong, by and large, I'm very happy with it. But the gearbox a little bit all over the place as well, so maybe just a bit of use is what's needed there. It might be just because the engine's cold. I know there's a temperature sensor on it as well that kind of doesn't it doesn't let the engine rev too high when it's cold. To be fair, the engine's actually pretty gutless at the moment. It's not pulling along great. It's okay once you spin it up, but if you don't spin it, Jesus, it does nothing down below. So I mean, obviously, yeah, it's not. You can hear it's not running right. So let's get it back to the garage and figure out why it's not. You can hear it's very clearly only running on 3 cylinders, and look, the idle speed is quite low as well on it. My money's on a coil pack, but I want to rule out the simple things like the bonding lead and stuff like that on the engine first. I got a spare coil pack anyway, so we'll be able to rule that out too. Yeah, so by my reckoning now, actually, the engine's warmed up a bit, and the gearbox seems to be working fine. So it's obviously just the engine is the issue rather than the gearbox, and when the gearbox is trying to kind of keep it at low revs and there's no power there, that's why it's sort of it's creating other problems. So let's just focus on the engine first of all. I won't do anything with the gearbox because I do think it's probably all right, and then we can if it does turn out to be a problem, then we can address it then. But other than that, it's driving well. I'm really happy with it now. You know, I mean, these are small issues that need to be ironed out, not big ones. So yeah, I mean, it's nearly there. It's 90% of the way there. Right, let's get that misfire sorted out. First thing I want to do is change that bonding lead. I'll let you have a listen to it and you'll see exactly what I mean. It's really running on 3 cylinders. So I suppose the bonding lead is that kind of proverbial low-hanging fruit, or low-hanging fruit, whatever the expression is anyway. So that's why I want to get that bonding lead changed, and then I have another coil pack I can try on it as well and see. And what we can do is we can have a look at the injectors if that doesn't solve the problem. So that's the methodology. Let's see how we fare out. Okay, so here's the offending bonding lead, and you can see there at the edges of it that it's or the ends of it, that it's fairly well corroded, particularly on that end there. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new one of these up and see if that actually solves the problem. Fortunately enough, I actually had a bonding lead in my stash of parts, so we'll be able to just fit that. So yeah, given it's a bonding lead, I'm just going to fit it like that. We don't really need to insulate it. All that ended up happening with the insulation is it just kind of held water against it. So get this into place. Bit fiddly. The oil dipstick is in the way. Right, so the new bonding lead is now in. So I have my doubts this has cured the problem, but it's one thing to eliminate. So let's just start the engine and see how it sounds now. Yeah, it can sound a lot better than that though. So we still need to do a bit more investigating. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to start pulling spark plug leads and find out which cylinder is missing. Alright, so what we need to do now is we need to pull the spark plug leads one by one and see which one makes the most difference. Not that one. Not that one. Ow, 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 ow. Right, the one that made the least difference is this one. Alright, so that's number 3. So I'm going to pull out the spark plug at number 3 and have a look at it. Alright, okay, so let's get this spark plug out. We'll have a look at it. Yep. Oof. It's fairly fouled looking. So that would lead me to believe that it is firing, but we have a problem with the injectors. So that would also explain the smoke as well. Let's just clean up that plug anyway for a start and see how we go. Alright, so there's the spark plug back in. So let's pop our lead back on and we'll see how we're looking now. Let you have a listen to the exhaust here. Better. What I want to do is pull out those injectors and have a look and see if we can actually give them a clean. But yeah, in the meantime, I've done the simple things. Okay, so we know the coil pack is all right. Well, we don't know for sure, but we can kind of assume that it's okay for the time being. And then the next thing to do is to give those injectors a clean, so we'll have to pull them out. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave that for another video, because there is a bit more investigation work to be done here, and I don't think that's going to be done overnight. And I'm kind of keen to get this video edited and uploaded. So the next thing to do is I'm actually going to install the washer bottle, because that's one thing that's going to fail the NCT on. And I got a jack and a little bolt to hold the spare wheel down, little details like that, and we will. But let's get the washer bottle in first of all. All right, so here's the new washer bottle with the pump on it, and we'll connect up the pipe onto it first of all, which is down here. All right, so there's a little spud that fits down into a recess down here. That goes down there. We just need 2 bolts into the firewall. That'll hold that there. We'll take off the Mark 1 thing there on it as well. So that's where that goes. And then there's a little wire which has been kicking around inside the engine bay, and funnily enough I wondered what it was for. Now I know. It never occurred to me that there was no washer bottle in it when I went until I went to go and actually wash the windows. Alright, that's that connected up. Get the 2 bolts into that, tighten them up, and then that should do the trick. Okay, there we go. Another job ticked off the list. Now I just need to make sure it works. Unfortunately, I have no screen wash left, but we'll just put a bit of water in it for the time being. It's a tiny washer bottle. Okay. Right, let's see if it works. Aha, yeah. Brilliant. Fantastic, there we go, that's another job done. A trick I learned a few years back is that when you're trying to remove something with solvent, I got that off by the way, basically put a rag down and then soak the solvent into the rag and just leave it sit for a few minutes, and then it will basically lift itself off. The solvent will stay soaked into the rag and eventually lift any dirt that you're trying to remove. So that's wet with brake cleaner there now. So I'm going to just leave it be, and we'll see if the rocker cover comes up decent, and if it doesn't, we'll have to try something else. I have some metal polish and stuff like that, but I'm not going to get into that too much right now. Again, that's further down the line. Right now I'm kind of trying to get it ready for the NCT, which is in a week's time. So yeah, onto the back end of the car, and we're going to have a look at the battery hold down bracketry. Alright, so the trick with the rag didn't work, but I'm actually going to try this auto sol here and see if this actually does the job. I've never used it before, but apparently it does work. So let's see. Now, we'll just try a little bit down the back here. Well, it's definitely getting dirt off anyway. Right, so let's see. Apply liberally, rub in with a soft cloth, then polish and buff to a high luster. On uneven surfaces, apply with a small brush. Well, it's an uneven surface, but I'm not going to go use the brush right now. It certainly cleans it, but I kind of hoped it would be a bit more, let's just say, shiny. It's not bad. I suppose I could keep going on it and get the rest of it done, but in my mind the best thing to do would be to really just take off the rocker cover, and I know it's a cam cover before any of you say it. I just call it a rocker cover because it's what I'm used to calling them. We could take off the cam cover and do it then. Here's the bit I tried doing using another method. So okay, yeah, that's coming up pretty nice actually there. Yeah, that's not bad. I think I'd definitely live with that now. It's a hell of a lot better than it was anyway. Yeah. Okay, that's going to be our method for future reference. We'll use it. We'll clean it up that way. You know, I have to say I get immense satisfaction out of little things like that. The new coil pack that I got just to try out came with the bracket that holds the two clips in place actually for that and the camshaft position sensor thing. Well, no, it's the lambda sensor on the far side of the engine, but that's all nicely clipped in there now. You can see how that came up as well. That's not bad. So I'm going to actually polish that up as well. So we got that done. We've the washer bottle in, and down the back the spare wheel is in. The battery is all properly bolted down. One of the bolts for the clamp here was actually broken, so what I ended up doing is there was no way I was going to be able to drill that out, so I sheared off the anchor nut on the far side and just put a nut on it. I'm never going to be taking that off again, to be honest with you, so it's absolutely fine the way it is there now. That's all tucked in there now. I want to try and figure out what the story is with all the condensation in the boot though. There's quite a lot of it. Other thing as well is the jack and wheel brace are in there as well, but I also want to find out, there must be something missing from there. It looks like there's like a panel or a bracket or something to hold that in place as well. So need to find out what actually goes there. Our little handle for the wheel brace is there. So that's all the boot sorted out as well. And I have to say, it's really shaping up to be a very well sorted little car. So I'm going to leave it there at this point because there is going to be more to do to try and find that misfire, and I'm going to dive into that, but I want to get this video edited this evening and get it uploaded for you guys to watch and see how far I've come on it. You've obviously seen me driving it, which is fantastic. So it's on the road, it's ready to go, it's insured and everything as well. Obviously I have to get the NCT done. There's a few things to do with the logbook. That means I have to go through the tax office to get that done as well. So yeah, paperwork exercises in the background. You know yourself, anybody who has classic cars knows full well what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, look, the engine bay is not the tidiest in the world yet. That's going to come further down the line where we kind of try and spruce that up. Just I need a good opportunity to kind of give it a deep steam clean. And yeah, we'll pick that up in the future. So thanks very much for watching. Please hit the subscribe button before you go. I really do appreciate it, and it means a lot to me, and helps me grow the channel and deliver more content like this. And yeah, hit the like button if you like what I saw, and I'll keep you updated on things like this project as well in the background, which I've got an engine for now. So I'll chat to you soon. Yeah, you can really hear how bad it's running there now that it's idled down a bit. Spoiler alert.